You never told me how your parents met.
I did. You just want me to repeat it for the camera.
Okay, I do.
Well, I don't know. I wasn't there myself. I'm just going. Just footnote. I'm only going off of what they've told me.
Yeah.
And they tell me two different stories. So I do my best to piece it together.
Okay, give me the stories. Give me the stories.
All right.
Start with your mother's story.
Well, actually, I have to start with both their story.
You're going to be difficult, aren't you? You're going to be difficult.
Absolutely, I will. I will be almost as difficult as my parents are. It's tough prying this knowledge from them.
All right, come on.
For those of you who do not know, I'm Armenian.
Oh, my God.
And
I know that.
Well, I just want to make sure. I actually did a genetic test, one of the 23andMe. I'm 95% Armenian, about 4.5% North African, so I'm actually black. I'm more black than Elizabeth Warren is Native American.
And you're 1% Jewish.
And I'm 0.2% Ashkenazi Jew. So everyone, I've got the Jew. Woo! Hey, so
you got the Jew.
I got the Jew. I got permission from a Jewish lady to say oy vey, so you know I'm set. Anyway, so long story short, my ancestors are Armenian. They've lived there for literally thousands of years, hundreds of generations, a long, long time. However, I'm not in Armenia. Something happened. More about that in upcoming weeks on the diaspora or the Armenian genocide.
What's the date that's being remembered?
On the 24th, April 24th.
Okay, folks, stay tuned for the 24th. It's going to be a good one.
It's going to be a great one. Anyway, so my great-grandfather on my father's side, his name was Toros MADAJIAN. He went over. Toros!
It sounds like Toros, bull. It sounds
like that. Only he was Armenian. And so he came over to the United. He came a few years before the genocide, just when things were getting hot. He fled, came to Racine, Wisconsin, of all places in the United States.
That's where my wife was born.
There you go. I mean, it's a weird place in the middle of America, but that's where he was.
Yeah.
And
she was Norwegian, by the way. She was Norwegian.
Oh, go figure. So I'll skip a few generations just to when my father was born. He was born in Oakland. He was raised with the Armenian community in the Armenian church. Right. He was not taught how to speak Armenian. This is because his parents. The story is they were bullied in kindergarten and first grade for not speaking English. So they just figured it's much easier on my father if he just learns only English. Mm-hmm. So he now, to understand my dad, he's a very boring person in all the right ways. In all the right ways. I asked him, Dad, what's your favorite childhood memory? I don't have any. What did you do during the summer, Dad? I did summer school. It's like, I mean, he did go to Berkeley and then did graduate school at Stanford and get a degree in electrical engineering. So, I mean, it paid off. Anyway, so
he's an American. He's an American Armenian.
Yeah, from Oakland, California.
Right. So how does he?
All right. So but the one thing he does do is he's very active in the Armenian circles.
Right.
Church
he's
group.
Engineer. He's a retired engineer, soon to go back to work because he's bored. But
but back in the day, he was not bored because he was studying and doing Armenian things. Now there's this organization. I can't remember what this organization was, but you can effectively go back to your homeland. Yeah. My mother, I have to start the story. I have to turn back the clock and do my mother's story. Her family during the diaspora went to Brazil, specifically Sao Paulo, and they were all. She was raised there, born and raised. Went to high school, yada yada. She also says that she had a very boring childhood. So in both my parents' cases, I sit back and wonder, all right, what are they hiding? What are they hiding? So anyway.
I mean, if they're so boring, how did they explain that they show such a firecracker?
I don't know. So they both go to Armenia.
Wow.
My mom speaks Portuguese. My father speaks English.
But so they both go to Armenia. How did they get to Armenia together? They didn't even know each other.
No. They didn't. They didn't go together. They went with this group. I can't remember the organization's name.
The International Armenian Go Find a Spouse organization.
Basically, the whole purpose was basically
to get married.
Well, if you have anything to do with the Armenian community, their big thing is remembering your heritage, remembering where you came from, your culture.
And they're big on marriage, and they don't want any sex outside of marriage, and especially no sex in marriage.
Yeah, because first Christian country. We were the first Christian country.
I have to state that for the viewers out there because this is unheard of. Right?
I know it's shocking to many people that it's not even traditional. It's normal Christianity. You don't have sex outside of marriage. And since Armenia is the very first Christian nation, and Armenians are very proud of that.
So they're in Armenia and they meet each other.
Oh, one more thing I have to note. This is in the 80s. This is during the Soviet Union. They were behind the Iron Curtain at this point.
Oh. How did they get in? Oh, this religious group.
Yeah. So Armenians get in everywhere. We do all this stuff.
I guess so.
So they meet.
Drink. Cheers.
Drink the if you were talking about Armenians, you better need a drink. So they come there, and from all accounts, it really sounds like it wasn't love at first sight. It was kind of confusion. It really sounds like confusion. Neither of them spoke the same language. They didn't speak Armenian. My father spoke English. My mother spoke Portuguese.
Right.
I think they used people in between them or something like that. So my mother, I don't know how she communicated this, but she wanted to be pen pals with my dad.
Well, it must have been a physical attraction, because if they couldn't speak the same language, what else is there except a physical attraction?
You have your mind set on one thing. Anyway, my dad is trying to explain, of all things, in English, that he's moving and he doesn't have an address, and my mom's just sitting there with the pencil and the paper going, "What do you mean you don't have an address? What do you mean? Just tell me where you live and I'll send you." I don't know how they figured it out. They both kind of skip over this part, but somehow they became pen pals for a couple years. And my mom was in Brazil, father is in Oakland, California, and San Diego, and this and that. And then my mom, according to her version of the story, she went over there to learn English so she'd be more educated, so she could come back to Brazil and get a good job. That's her version.
Mm-hmm.
My dad's version is
okay.
He's not a boring person. I mean to point that out. So my mother stayed with these relatives for I think 8 months. She said she lived out. She says this very often to me, especially now that I moved out. For 8 months, I lived in one suitcase. I lived in one suitcase for 8 months. I'm like, yeah, Mom. I've got my own apartment here, and she actually lived in Hollywood. So she probably lived in your neighborhood, in your same, on the same time. Fun fact. So
what was this? Do you remember in the 80s, the early 80s?
Yeah,
you were born in 86, right?
97. Oh. Yeah, I'm not an 80s child.
You're a child.
I am a baby. Yes, I'm a baby child. Anyway, so.
Okay.
So they, I guess they, started meeting up. One thing led to another.
And one thing led to you.
Then led to me. So it's a sweet story that literally hemispheres apart, different languages.
Yeah.
That, to me, it's completely unclear whether or not my mom came there because she really loved my dad, or because she just wanted to pursue her own career or whatever. One way or another, my mother slowly realized that because she was living in America, she would come back to Brazil and she would tell me she was just unhappy with Brazil, or not unhappy, disgusted, completely shocked at the poverty, the filth, the corruption, versus in America, there was the freedom, there was the people pursuing education. In Brazil, it's very stagnant. You get a job. If you go to college, you get a job, and you stay there as a bank teller for the rest of your life. That's it. It's a very, I mean, there's a lot of very good relatives I have. And then if you want to do something really successful, you have to sell your soul. I actually have some relatives that are now jobless or don't have any prospects in their original career because their managers were expecting them to do corrupt things. Really? That's just expected in Brazil. At least back in the day. I don't know about now. So my mother, she very much understood just how wonderful America is.
So she got here when America was great.
I want to say America was always great. I want to say that. I've always believed that America was. Yeah, well,
Eric Holder, the former Attorney General, he doesn't agree with you, Alex.
Well,
Clinton doesn't agree with you, and AOC.
There's a reason why these people are not in office. They're not in power for a reason.
Anyway, the long and the short is I've met both of your parents. Transparency here, folks. I've met both of Alex's parents, and I got to tell you. They're just wonderful people. They're dedicated to each other. Alex has two brothers, an older brother, Jonathan, and a younger brother, Gregory. And all three are loved and nurtured in a Armenian Christian family. They have principles and values that transcend the material. They are
I will say this on that, is that for those of you who do not know, I'm the liberal, foul-mouthed, hippy-dippy child.
Unbelievable.
Out of my whole family, I'm the crazy liberal, foul-mouthed, disgusting person. I want to make that clear. Okay?
You can imagine, folks, what his brothers are like, if that's the case.
Every member of my family is a saint in their own right.
Yeah. I got to agree with you on that one.
I will give a tribute to how my parents raised me. A lot of people, they come and go, your parents homeschooled you. They brought you to church. They loved you. They stayed together. I mean, yeah, just being married is like a huge accomplishment nowadays. And they go through the list of all of these things, and then I report this to my parents. You know what the reaction is?
What?
So what?
Isn't it interesting, Alex, that the 51% of Americans that are divorced with children do not have transcendent values. Whereas the 49% that have stayed married and still are married do seem to have lasting principles and values that they adhere to. They have scrupulosity. They have a morality. It's not subjective. It doesn't change with the weather. It doesn't change with administrations. It doesn't change with the headlines. Isn't it interesting that there's some sort of a relationship? I'm not saying causality here. I'm saying correlation between having a loving family unit that stays together for the sake of everybody in the family, that subordinates their own selfish ambitions in order to raise children. I just want to raise my glass and salute your family.
I'll close with this. Thank you very much. That was very touching. I'll close with this. My parents never thought they did anything above and beyond. They thought they really just thought they were doing what they were supposed to do.
That's what you are. Yeah.
And everyone, when they hear that, their jaws drop because they barely want to cook for their kids. Versus my mom, she would refuse that I would ever skip one of the three meals. And every lunch and every dinner would have 2 or 3 courses and There's always a salad and a meat. There's always a meat. You'd never have a meal without some meat, unless maybe it's breakfast, but even that's good. So thank you, Mom. Thank you, Dad. I love you both.
Yes, next time you get to interrogate me about how my family met. My mother and father. I'm going to have a
drink for that.
Okay. All right, folks.
Thank you so much for watching, guys.
Or with Alex and Mark. Bye-bye.
Wait, we're not family, right?